Today I'm here to review The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 1, titled No Sanctuary. Now, before I start, I do not have any notes for this video, or I have not taken any notes for this video, so this video will be straight off the top of my head. Like, this is how I'm going to review it. I don't have any notes. I didn't have any time to take any notes for this review, so please forgive me if I mess up on it. So now let's get started. Morgan Jones. Morgan Jones made his cameo appearance at the very last minutes of the Walking Dead episode. Man, was I hyped like a child on Christmas when I saw Morgan Jones. Lenny James is the fucking man. I have to say that. Lenny James is the fucking man. Now, in the cameo appearance of Morgan Jones that we saw Morgan Jones on the same train on the same train track, looking at the sign that Rick had just changed around when he modified it by putting "No" at the top of Sanctuary, making a sign say "No Sanctuary." And we saw Morgan looking at it, and we can see Morgan kind of smiling, and we see Morgan with the same armor that he had in season 3, episode 12, when he was shooting at Rick and the rest of the group from the top of the roof. Now, my question is, now it's not even the question, is this the same Morgan that we had in season 1? Or is this the same Morgan from season 2? I'm sorry, I said season 2, I meant season 3. I'm talking about the Morgan from season 3 who had lost his sanity and had chose to take all his revenge, his anger, and he chose to take it out on humans and zombies. And his concept was clear, meaning clear anything out of my way. If it's a threat, I'ma clear it. Now, Morgan got to the point where he couldn't be trusted around human beings. So you know something went on in Kings County, Atlanta, Georgia, where Morgan had to leave where he was staying at. Because remember, we had zombies in season 3, season 4 of The Walking Dead, pushing back the fence at the prison. Now remember, Morgan had barbed wire and bamboo sticks that he had turned into spears, and he had rats to try to get the zombie trapped in. But now it's different. I'm pretty sure zombies was able to rip down that barbed wire and get to those bamboo sticks and get to his house. So now Morgan is on the verge or is looking for some sanctuary at this point. And back to what I was saying, when you saw Morgan kind of smiled, I hope it's the same Morgan that we had in season 1. Not exactly the same, because remember, the characters that we have in The Walking Dead now might be kind of the same, but they will never be the same exact characters that you saw in season 1. They have all changed. You will never see the same characters again. But is Morgan ready to be around humans? Have Morgan balanced it out yet? Only time will tell. But also, in that cameo appearance, we saw a tree. Now, this tree had marks on it, and the marks looked like somebody took a knife and had carved X signs on the trees. And from what I can tell, it was like signs. It was like they kind of made signs on the tree so somebody could follow them. And we see Morgan see that X sign carved on the tree, and he starts to follow it. Now, could it be Gabriel, Preacher Gabriel? I don't think so, because Preacher Gabriel had locked the people up. Had locked the people up. Well, he didn't let nobody come into his church because he didn't have enough food and supplies to feed everybody, and he only cared about himself. So it couldn't have been Gabriel sending them signs on that tree. Maybe it was Garrett. Maybe it was Garrett to try to get some humans to follow that sign, and then end up on that railroad track and end up seeing tournaments from there. Maybe it was Garrett. Or it could have been Rick. Because remember, Remember when Rick and his group had escaped tournaments. The group when they was in the woods, Rick says we have to kill them. And the rest of the group says no. We already took out the place. We destroyed it. We already took out the place. We destroyed it. We don't have to go back there. And remember, Rick never once replied to what. Well, he never once replied to what they said after that. After he said we should kill them, and then they replied, and then when they said no, we already wrecked tournaments. Ain't no need to go back. He never once replied again. He was quiet. And the reason why I think Rick did this is because remember all the mistakes that Rick made in the past. Also remember, The Walking Dead revolves around decision making and how those decisions either affect the character or benefit the character. And Rick has made a lot of bad decisions. One bad decision, when he stopped looking for the governor. Rick thinks about that because he lost his prison. He lost his home because of it. Because he chose to stop looking for the governor. And that was a bad decision on his part. So Rick will never make that mistake again. That's the reason why he said, we have to kill them. Because what if these people find us and try to kill us? We have to get to them first. I will not make the same mistake I made with the governor. Daryl said it when Daryl was with Beth and he was crying in episode 4 title season 4 episode 12 title Steel. Daryl was crying and he said, maybe if I would have kept looking for the governor, your father would still be alive. That's why I said The Walking Dead revolves around decision making, and the decisions that they made in season 4 cost them a home, and it cost them lives. And Rick will never make that mistake again. That's the reason why he said. We going to kill him. That's why he told the group we going to kill him, because I will never make that mistake again. Now let's talk about Tyrese scene. We see how Carol and Tyrese and we see Judith, we see them walking on the railroad track, and they end up finding the guy that works at tournaments. And Carol puts a gun to the back of his head because she overhears him talking about Michonne, because he mentioned a woman with a sword, and he also mentioned a kid with a cowboy hat. Carol puts a gun to his head, and she stops him and asks him questions, and he pretty much gives himself away. Now, this guy was the same guy that's how Rick, Michonne, Carl, and Daryl walking on that railroad track with those bag of guns, because Garrett knew about the bag of guns, and that guy was the only person out there. That guy was the only person out there in the woods that was looking around to see if anything funny was going on. A perimeter watcher. He's a perimeter watcher. Now, he was the only person out there, so he saw that and he told Garrett about it. Now, let's talk about Tyrese, because Tyrese ends up killing this guy. I never once considered Tyrese a character. I never once considered Tyrese a coward. Because when he was walking with Carol, he tells her that you go in to tournaments, I'm not going because I don't want to kill anybody. It's not the fact that Tyrese is scared to kill anybody. It's the fact that Tyrese knows what he's truly capable of. Tyrese knows when he gets angry, he can be dangerous. That's the reason why Tyrese never really gets involved when it comes to violent stuff. He always try to reason with people, because he knows what he's capable of. And that right there is kind of his downfall within his character, but it's also a good thing. Because when he fought Rick, remember when him and Rick had that fight, he punched Rick exactly 2 times. Those blows were so powerful. When he punched Rick in the face, Rick fell on his bare knees. And you notice after he punched Rick, he stopped. He punched Rick 2 times and he stopped and he looked at Rick. And his face expression shows that, what did I just do? That's why I'm telling y'all Tyrese is scared, because he knows what he's truly capable of. And he came to terms of who he was when he killed that guy in the cabin, because he knew I had every reason to kill him. I was justified for killing him because he tried to harm a baby. And that guy was even insulting Tyrese when they was in the cabin, telling Tyrese how he's too weak. Only the strong survive. And the weak vanish. And I remember Morgan Jones saying this in season 3. The weak shall inherit the earth. That's right. He says, Rick, people like me and you, we shall inherit the earth. Because at the end of the day, that's a Bible verse. But then at the end of the day, the strong will only survive so long. But then they will end up dying. And the weak shall get what they deserve because they're good people. So that's the problem with it's not even a problem. Tyrese, like I say, he know what he's capable of. That's the reason why he choose not to be violent. That's the reason why he choose not to kill, because he know if he get mad enough and he also get pushed to that point, he know what he can do. You seen when Tyrese took 2 zombies and he speared them through the door, and he broke the fucking door, spearing the zombies into the fucking the cabin or the warehouse. You saw that. Now let's talk about Carol. Carol is badass. Carol really stepped into the plate for this episode. Carol has really came to terms of who she is. It is not so that she's a killer, but Carol is now to this point that it's not to the point that she will do anything to survive. She has to. In order to survive, you have to be strong. You have to fight back. And Carol did it. Carol saved them. She saved Rick, Glenn, Daryl, Bob. She saved them in this episode. And she also got Mary. Mary was the cook that was at the main cook who was doing all the barbecuing at tournaments. She ended up shooting Mary and leaving her there for dead so the zombies can finish out. Also, in this episode, we saw a flashback of Garrett and the termites in this episode. We saw what happened. We saw then we saw now. We saw how Garrett and his people was once good, legitimate people. That was once good until they allowed a group to come there, and that group came and took over tournaments. Because one of the guys that had came there and had took over tournaments, we saw him in this episode, because I remember when he was in that cargo and they had zombies by that cargo. Rick was gonna leave him, and it's good to have a moral compass within the group besides Herschel, because you need somebody to have morals within. Well, you need somebody to have morals within the group to be able to keep the other group members stable. Because Rick was gonna lead that guy, and Glenn tells Rick, he says, "That's still who we are. We still good people. Let's save him, Rick," because Rick wasn't gonna save that guy in that train cargo. And then when Glenn tells him that, it reminds him of Herschel. And Rick says, "Okay, come on." So they go to the train cargo. And the guy end up running out the train cargo, and he says, "I'm one of them." So he was with the first group that had came and took tournaments over and had turned it into a cannibalism place or a cannibal place where they kill humans and eat them. Because he tells Rick, "I'm one of them. I'm one of these people that was involved in eating humans." But he ends up getting killed real fast. But back to the Garrett flashback. They took over tournaments, and they put Garrett and his people in the train cargo. And Garrett is dealing with guilt. Even though he don't show it, he's dealing with guilt, because I remember him telling his people in the train cargo. He says that it's our fault why they getting butchered and killed, because we told them to come here. And you can see the guilt that he couldn't deal with that. He couldn't. But then he ends up developing this mindset, this pragmatic mindset of only the strong survive and the weak vanish. Because I can't remember the concept that he said. Even Mary said the concept too about cannibalism, cannibal, or butcher. And they chose to be the butcher. They're not going to be the cannibals. But now I want to talk about Garrett some more. Because it's corruption within tournaments and I don't hear reviewers talk about this, how corruption begins. And I'm going to tell you why tournaments is so corrupt and why the termites are so corrupted. Because I'm talking about the real world too. Listen, in the real world, today, in America, the reason why America is so corrupted, because of us, human beings. And I'm going to tell you why. Because everything that we do, we justify it. Even if it's bad, we justify it. That's how corruption begins to grow within us humans, because we justify everything that we do. Like I say, it can be good. Okay, it's good. But if it's bad, we still try to justify it. And by us justifying it and allowing ourselves to believe that allowing ourselves to believe that we was right and we was justified of what we did and it was right, we continue to do it. Because, hey, we're thinking in our head, okay, I murdered this person, but I was justified for what I did, so I can murder this next person. I can justify that too. That's how corruption begins in America, in this world, period. That's why this world is so corrupt, because we justify. That's what happened in tournaments. They justified every fucking thing that they did. Garrett ends up becoming the people that he despised. So, yeah. He ended up becoming the people that he despised. And that's why the termites are so corrupted right now. That's why that sanctuary is just full of it. Now, I talk about Rick. Man, Rick Grimes. Man, Rick is a beast, man. Man, Rick took a piece of wood and turned it into like a shank, or I can't describe it. He sharpened a piece of wood and turned it into like a knife. Not even a knife. He took a piece of wood and he was stabbing people in the neck. Even before Garrett, his people came in the train cargo, but before they had threw that smoke bomb in the train cargo. Rick says, when they get in here, you stab them in their neck, and you stab them in their eye. Tell me my boy Rick hasn't became ruthless. But then again, I can't say ruthless, because Rick has come to terms of who he is. He know to balance it out. He know how to balance out being ruthless when you have to, but also be good. He know how to balance it out. And the kills in this episode was the zombie kills, man. My best zombie kills when Daryl took that bat and had hit that zombie head and it had impacted on the wall and his brain splattered everywhere, or that stick that little metal pole that Daryl had. And my favorite scene is when Rick saw that termite guy running by, and Rick had stabbed him and took his gun. And then he turned around and he had shot the other termites up from behind. And then he was so cold, man. He didn't even aim to really kill them. Like, he shot them in the body and allowed them to drop and hit the ground while they were still alive. But he also knew that the zombies was going to eat them. Tell me that's not ruthless, man. Rick, man. Rick. Next, the reunion. The reunion was crazy. I love the reunion. How everybody reunited with everybody. Sasha, Tyrese, Rick, Judah, Daryl, Carol. Man, that kind of rhymes. Man, That was crazy. I love the reunion, how everybody got emotional. And my best part of the reunion is when Rick saw Judith and he ran to, he picked her up, man. And then he kind of patted Tyrese on his shoulder. Man, and then my other part is when he saw Carol and he asked her, you did that? You saved us? And she says, yes. And he hugged her like an emotional hug. The Daryl and Carol hug was so emotional, like they hugged for a long time. But I'm gonna tell you what really got to me is when Daryl saw Bob and Sasha. Oh no, is when Daryl saw Sasha hug Tyrese, her brother. And Daryl, you can see he got kind of sad because that's symbolism of how much he missed Merle, how much he misses Beth. That's symbolism of that, and that was so fucking amazing, man. Genius, man. And I love how Carol saved the fraternity miss, and she caused a big explosion to happen. So this right here is my Walking Dead review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, have a blessed day. God bless you all. Subscribe, rate, come in, and